Welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, new words in the Cambridge Dictionary, issues and implications. And in the second watch, reactions to the first national debates. For our social media question, we ask, did you watch or listen to the debate last Saturday? If so, who do you think won the debate? We're asking you to share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's I quote.
All right, today's I quote says, I believe that the pursuit of truth and right ideas through honest debate and rigorous argument is a noble undertaking. And this is from Charles Crowthammer.
Okay. Good morning, Jokal.
Good morning.
Yeah, a noble undertaking indeed in terms of having honest and rigorous debates. Did you listen to the debate?
I did listen to it.
How was it for you?
It was a good start. It was a good start. I'm looking forward to the one tonight.
Yeah, all of us are.
For sure.
Yeah, man. The first watch after this break.
Is a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
We create more jobs in Jamaicans, build road and better education. We make communities safer. Ring the bell and vote for Labour. There is no party next to we. The greatest team in history. Jamaica Labour Party marching on to victory. We do so much already, now we doing more.
The proceeding was a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
We're in the hurricane season and the hottest time of the year. But no worries, Lanco has you covered. By the way, you're covered with Lanco Cool Guard or Urethanizer roof coating yet? Use Lanco roof coatings to waterproof your roof and also benefit from a cooler home with our advanced Thermoflex technology. Get 10 to 20% discount on Lanco Urethanizer and Cool Guard roof coating island-wide this hurricane season. Lanco, your waterproofing expert.
The Jamaica Debates Commission presents the General Elections Debates in association with Scotiabank for Ever Future, Kendall, The Taste of Quality, Flow, NCB, ARC Manufacturing, Water, Lasco Foundation, Pan Jamaica Group, Miss Birdie, H&L Homes, and VM Group. Hear the leaders' debate between the two major political parties live August 28th at 9 p.m. It's a political must-listen event. Don't miss the General Elections Debates presented by the Jamaica Debates Commission. Watch, listen, decide, vote.
That's the Jamaica Debates Commission's General Elections Debates. Listen live on Love 101 FM, the family station. Coming up this Tuesday, August 26, on The Rock, Wonders of the Body, Blood. Our bodies are a wonder, made by God and made for God. Without blood, the body is lifeless, dead. But what about the spiritual blood that gives us eternal life? Leviticus 17 verse 11 says, "The life of the flesh is in the blood." So how do we connect the blood that flows through our veins to the blood that flows from the cross? Join our special guests, Christina Milford and Apostle O'Neill Richards, as they dive deep into this powerful and thought-provoking topic. Plus, don't miss this week's feature segment, Behind the Bible, where Roland takes us behind the written page to explore what the Bible says about salt. All this and more on The Rock, Tuesday, August 26 at 10 a.m. here on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, last week, the Gleaner reported that the Cambridge Dictionary has added over 6,000, yes, 6,000 new words to its database, including Delulu, that's Delulu, and Skibidi, that's Skibidi, and Gen Alpha, ALPHA, and Luke, that's LEWK. Now, the Lulu, it states, means believing things that aren't real or true, often due to a personal choice or fantasy. And skibidi is defined as a humorous slang term with varying meanings like cool or bad, often used without real meaning as a joke. Gen Alpha, for people born in the 2010s and early 2020s. And Luke, LEWK, which means an unusual and impressive style, fashion, or outfit. Wow. So, what are the issues or implications arising from these and other recent additions to the Cambridge Dictionary? Well, to give us his view, we have so far Professor Hubert Devonish, Professor of Linguistics at the University of the West Indies. Good morning to you, Professor Devonish.
Good morning. I'm retired, so
Retired.
that
Okay.
part of it. That part of it, emeritus.
Okay,
Yeah.
great,
Anyway,
great. Yes, good to have you with us, sir.
Yeah, right. Mhm.
Good.
Yes.
Now,
Okay.
as far as you're aware, Professor Devonish, how do those responsible for updating dictionaries like Cambridge determine which words should be included or excluded? As far as you're aware.
Right. Well, no. I mean, it's more than as far as I'm aware. It's the field of putting together dictionaries is a field called lexicography, and lexicographers, their role is to, in relation to whatever language they're dealing with, observe how people are using words.
Mm-hmm.
What new, sometimes words change meaning, which means you have to add those new meanings to the dictionary. Sometimes new words come in, either because people make them up or they borrow it from another language and they include it. So that their job is to scan the terrain of usage, what people actually doing, and then pull it in. Now, we have to remember that this is the Cambridge Dictionary of English, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Cambridge obviously is an English British entity.
Yes.
You have another dictionary, the one that is more famous, which is the Oxford English Dictionary, right?
Yes.
But the Cambridge Dictionary is one that is used to pull for dictionaries for people who are learning English, whereas the Oxford English one is the dictionary that is used to really document from a historical point of view all the history of the words that come in and so on. So they're slightly different, but they do the same thing, which is look around constantly, because people are constantly in English around the world using new words, changing meanings of words to new meanings. And when they find that enough people are using a word in a particular way, they say, okay, we're gonna now document it, because you don't want to pull into the documentation of a dictionary a word that came up this week and die out next month.
Yes.
So they usually track the word and say, well, something like, it hasn't been around for X amount of time. How many people are using it? How consistently are they using it with the same meaning? They say, all right, good. We can include it now. So that's basically the principle. And you mentioned 6,000 words. It tells you something about how dynamic language is, because around the world, those people using English, and I'm stressing people using English. This is not the Cambridge Dictionary, it's the Cambridge Dictionary of English.
Mm-hmm.
They look around and they say, all these new words coming in via social media, all this, every time they invent something new in terms of AI or the digital technologies and so on, physics or wherever, new words coming all the time. They survey them, and when they think that the word is settled enough in terms of its usage and meaning, and that many people are using the word with the same meaning, and so on, they say, okay, ready now, and they put it in. So that's basically it. But it's on both Oxford and
Cambridge.
Mm-hmm. They both, every year, in the case of Oxford, they publish new lists of words 4 times a year. But even though they're publishing it 4 times a year, both organizations, because these days everything is digital, they keep adding it. As soon as the word that they're identifying or tracking meets the mark, they set up a set of criteria, right? Standardize it, right? They say, okay, this has been used long enough by a wide enough range of people with a consistent meaning. They say, okay, we put it in. So once if that word, the data that they have on that word meets the mark this week, they put it in. They put it because the dictionaries are electronic, though they produce obviously physical versions in editions and so on. But in the main electronic version of the dictionary, they don't wait to add a whole set of words one time. They just simply add it.
Yes.
But then, for purposes of us knowing, and of course they have an interest in advertising their dictionaries and their databases and so on.
Right.
So periodically now they will come out. I suspect that Cambridge came out with this particular press release because it is close enough to the start of the new academic year. And this is a dictionary that is targeting learners of English around the world who want to have a good dictionary. So they use the opportunity of the start of the school to say, hey, we got 6,000 or 7,000 new words. Here are some of them, and so on. And what happened? You and I are talking about it now, so they succeed.
Yes. I guess you mentioned the Oxford Dictionary, which I think is the elder of the two, right?
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Right. We should not assume that, for example, these words that were mentioned in the preamble are also found in the Oxford Dictionary, right?
No, we won't presume because they're so new. We can't presume that at all.
Yes.
But once many or most of them will be also collected by Oxford. But Oxford and Cambridge will use different criteria. It's like no two lawyers will necessarily give you exactly the same legal opinion on a particular subject matter.
Right.
Or no two architects are going to build you exactly the same building. It doesn't mean that the two buildings are not of equal quality. So what happens is that in this area where you're including new words, is a judgment call.
Yes.
And so most of the expert judgments will result in both dictionaries having the same word. But there are bound to be cases where the two dictionaries don't or have not yet included the same words. But you can predict.
Yes, stick up in
these words.
Yes, stick up in right there, Prof. We are up on a break. We are
man,
excited
cool.
to hear more from you. We'll be right back.
No problem.
The Jamaica Debates Commission presents the General Elections Debates in association with Scotiabank for every future. Kendall, the taste of quality. Flow, NCB, Arc Manufacturing, Water, Lasca Foundation, Pan Jamaica Group, Miss Birdie, H&L Homes, and VM Group. Here, the two major political parties debate national issues live August 26th and 28th at 9 p.m. It's a political must-listen event. Don't miss the General Elections Debates presented by the Jamaica Debates Commission. Watch, listen, decide, vote.
That's the Jamaica Debates Commission's General Elections Debates. Listen live on Love 101 FM, the family station.
Mama work hard, for real. She do the most to send me and my brother go school. So, the dream was always to go to university. Well, I fulfilled 2 dreams with 1 Jane Bank savings plan, I further my education and I make mama proud.
See so you can make the par, travel par, graduate like a star.
Stop wishing you could.
With your Jane Bank savings, you absolutely can. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
Attention taxi owners and operators in Kingston and beyond. People out there located at 114 Hagley Road, Kingston is rolling out wholesale prices on all auto parts. Whether you own or operate a taxi, swing by the mall order at 114 Hagley Road today and take advantage of unbeatable deals in our taxi wholesale price promotion. Call us at 876-618-2781 or 876-342-4413. Conditions apply. Be Mall Auto. We sell everything but the gas.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. And this is the first watch. We're looking on new words in the Cambridge Dictionary, issues and implications. And we had in the first part of the first watch, Professor Hubert Devonish, retired professor of linguistics at the University of the West Indies. And we are now joined by Dr. Amina Blackwood Meeks, storyteller and a college orator at the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts. Welcome to you as well, Dr. Blackwood Meeks.
Thank you so very much. Morning, everyone.
Yes.
Morning,
Professor
morning.
Devon is still on. Yeah, morning, Professor.
Yes, Prof. You like to finish your thought process and then we can bring in Dr. Blackwood Meeks.
Right. So just to kind of explain the thing that so that everybody understands.
Yes.
We're talking about a dictionary of English, Cambridge, Oxford, the rest of them. And in the case of Cambridge, they survey usage across the world in English, and then this make a decision as to which words they want to include as a reference point. Because after it's included, then people like me and you who want to use what we think is good English would want to now check if the word is in the dictionary and how to spell it and what it means. But of course, we need to remember as users of dictionaries that the dictionaries don't tell us anything other than the way that people have been using these words before. And when it crosses a certain kind of line for the lexicographer, they say, okay, it's established enough in this usage and so on that we're going to put it in the dictionary. So we are using the dictionary as a reference point, but the dictionary doesn't make the language. The dictionary reflects usage in the first place. So we're kind of going around in a circle.
Yes.
But yeah,
okay.
Right. So that's, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, thanks for laying that foundation. Dr. Blackwood Meeks, what are your commendations or concerns with the recent additions that were made to the Cambridge Dictionary? We mentioned some in the preamble. I don't know if you heard them, about 4 of them.
All right.
Yeah, the Lulu, Skibidi, and Gen Alpha, and Luke.
Yes. I don't know whether I have any concerns as such.
Mm-hmm.
It is just interesting for me to reflect on the origin, if I'm understanding the issues properly, the origin of these words,
yes,
which the Lulu has forced us, caused us to be looking on, and that they originate on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
With the internet generation.
Yes.
And it causes me to reflect on internet citizenship, because sometimes we dismiss it as people who waste time and all of these things. So the first thing for me is, what is citizenship and what are the issues that come out of citizenship? That's one. Secondly, for me, is how does a word gain respectability? If that is the word I am looking for. As Professor just explained, the dictionary don't make up a word and put it in. The dictionary put in a word after a process of investigation that sufficient people have been using this word over a sufficiently long period of time for it to be taken seriously. The third thing is how we make language functional. There are some examples that we're used to, like some of us spell socks S-O-C-K-S, and some of us spell socks S-O-X, that kind of functionality. And from there, it takes me into cultural credibility. And I know you know where I am going with this. We sit in Jamaica and we laugh at how some people, in our view, mispronounce word or misunderstand word or just show say them done. And we don't take them seriously. So on any of those 4 points, we do not give credit to the citizens of this land, to the way they make language functional, and and to the way in which they make language functional is a reflection of positive aspects of our culture and our grappling with words. An example comes to mind where a respected academic who speaks Russian once told me that he was reading a Russian text, and this Russian text was an essay about Jamaica. And in the middle of this text, he saw a word that was not Russian, and he didn't recognize the word. And he went back to the word, and him said, "But of course, we know the word." They couldn't find a way to translate overstand. And them had to put back overstand in the middle of the Russian text because there was no way to translate what that means emotionally, psychologically, culturally, making language functional, and to a whole body of citizens.
Yes.
So those are the thoughts that this new word have stirred in me.
Right. So we are you saying that one day we could, if not already, have words that originate in Jamaica that will make it to the Cambridge
You know,
Dictionary?
I think Irie is in the dictionary, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Irie exists in a dictionary somewhere in the world.
And that's our Jamaican origin, as far as you understand.
As far as
Irie?
I understand, the
Yes.
Irie is of Jamaican origin.
Yes.
Where else you think it originates from?
Yes.
And the way too that language and words reflect a people's perspective on life. That you just can't say it any other way. You know, we like to say Jamaica is not a thing that you can define. Jamaica is a thing that you have to experience. That's part of what we mean when we say that language reflects the outlook, the worldview of a people and a culture. You say it as if it is unthinkable that the way we talk, how we say deep hole instead of deep hole, that's one that just comes to mind, could ever enter the dictionary.
Yes.
And maybe that reflects our timidity, our lack of courage, our insistence, our beating out the words out of the people who create the words or make the words functional.
Yes. Interesting thoughts. And if Professor Devonish wants to say anything on what
Well, I was
Doc
going to say
mentioned a
there are
while ago.
hundreds of Jamaican words in dictionaries like Oxford, and Cambridge.
They're okay.
But hundreds. And
any more you
they
can
make
tell
it-
us apart from Irie?
Yeah, because if you can find things like Yardi, for example, but even a more obvious thing like Rasta and Rastafarian and so on, those words have been in the dictionary for years.
Okay.
And so the thing, anything, even a word like yam, right? You find it in the dictionary, but it made it, I believe, based on the work of the Joseph Farkas, that words like those, right, like yam, made its way into English through Jamaica and through Jamaican. So it is what it is. I mean, there's lots of these words. I mean, you go back even further because you're bound to find some of the Caribbean fruit names like Dinip and so on in the dictionaries as well, and that would, of course, those words actually are inherited from even the languages preceding the current populations, in other words, the indigenous people and so on.
Yes.
So all of those have made it into dictionaries and have been doing so for centuries. So the real thing is that the average person, because I was listening to the conversation and marveling that we live, and we don't know and understand the process by which we are contributing even to, we're not right now dealing with English, right? The English dictionary, not talking about Jamaican. So we are unaware of our contributions to English because when we get it in the dictionary, we assume that they gave it to us.
Yes.
But the point I'm making is that a word like yam, the Europeans would have come into contact, or the English, in the early colonies, and the biggest of the early colonies being Jamaica. And that is how it made its way into English. So when you read the word yam, it didn't come from English to you, it is you to them. And that is true for hundreds of words. As I said, we've had things like lots of excitement over the slang words that have made it, like yardie and so on, right? And done in the specific gang leader sense and so on and so forth, right?
Yes.
Because, so you've got those things. So once the term is used widely enough and consistently enough in a particular kind of way, the lexicographers pull it in. But then we, in our kind of quasi-inferior position, when we see it in the dictionary, like back to my favorite word, yam, think that they are giving it to us as we gave to them. And so it's really a lot more about us being aware of how the thing works.
Yes.
And the fact that we, not only are we so powerful, but we're exercising that power, but not knowing that we are exercising the power. Because when we get the dictionary coming back to us with words that we know, unless it is a recent word like yardie, we think that it is them giving it to us. When in reality, it is we gave it to them, and then it came back in.
Hearing you loud and clear. And Dr. Amina Blackwood Meeks, with the words that we use in the preamble, the Lulu, Skibidi, Gen, Alpha, and Luke, what impact do you think the inclusion of those words and others in the Cambridge Dictionary, what impact will it have on academia? For example, if you have given your students research paper and they write and include these words, what if the lecturer doesn't know these words, but yet still they are presented in the documents, in the papers?
Big problem. But I don't know whether it is a big negative. There are so many words that lecturers don't know. There are so many words that children introduce to their teachers. I remember when my son was 6 years old and he had to write something about sources of light, and he wrote laser. And the teacher tell him, say, you read too much comic. You read too much comic. It's just another indication that learning is something which never stops.
It evolves.
And that lecturers like students have to be open-minded to say, I never heard that one before. Where you find it from? I'm going to look it up. And then we can all grow together. I wanted, however, to support and to underscore Professor Devonish's point about what it is that we give to the world. When Little Jamaica, or whichever other little place, was talking about Little Jamaica now, reflect on what we have given to the world, we think about things like sports come to mind immediately. Perhaps authors. I don't know what else comes to mind immediately. 63 years after independence, maybe our contribution to the Panama Canal and those big issues. But there are other ways in which we impact the world. When we make a movie like Cool Running, for example, and we say, but it's not just the fact that we're out of order enough to go enter a sport that we don't have the climatic conditions for. It's the very phrase and what it has come to mean that we don't realize how in those small ways we impact the world and impact the culture of the world and the thinking of people outside of Jamaica. And once we begin to recognize that, we also begin to recognize how powerful we are on the world stage.
Got to leave it there.
But Palawa
Got to leave it there.
A different meaning, a different dimension.
Got to leave it there. Thank you so very much for joining us, lady and gentlemen. Have a safe, productive day.
Right. And just remember that reggae is in the dictionary too.
What's that?
Just remember that reggae.
Yes. Oh, yes. Right.
All right.
As about to say, have a skibidi day. Have a skibidi day. All right.
All right, everybody.
Good. All right. Listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
Start your journey with a JN Small Business Loan with small business loans as little as $10,000 and up to $4 million. The time by JN Small Business Loan is
7:30.
Brunswick, tuna the only option. Give me the one thing, no, me no want a fraction. Brunswick tuna, morning, night, or noon. Me say me ready for the action. Brunswick tuna, they on me plate. Now they eat it for dinner, now the morning for me breakfast. You can have it anytime, anyway, with couple slices of bread or crackers. What's convenient, taste good and affordable. Brunswick tuna, love tuna. Me under the pitney in a school. Chunky nice, spicy Thai chili, chunky in water. Brunswick tuna, snacking made easy, snacking made tasty, snacking made healthy.
All registered electors are allowed time off to vote on election day for the February 26th local government election. Under the law, every employer shall permit employees to be absent from work on polling day for 3 hours in addition to the normal lunch hour. This does not apply to employees who begin work at 10 a.m. or after or end work at 2 p.m. or earlier. Remember, time off to vote on election day is your right. That was an important announcement from the Electoral Commission of Jamaica.
Turn the flame up and take it to 100. This summer we're turning up the love across Jamaica. It's the Double the Love Summer Tour with Love 101.
Everything I thought about
Join us in 5 parishes for live broadcast of the Gospel Train and Youth Connection, plus community cook-offs, family sports, games, and good vibes from Portmore to St. Thomas, Manchester, Mobile, and Kingston.
I'm about to have a good day.
We're spreading faith, fun, and fellowship island-wide. And it all ends with a big back-to-school grand finale in Kingston. The Double the Love Summer Tour, powered by Love 101, the family station. Don't you miss it.
God made the universe, knows me by my name, so it's a good day. Baby in my arms, walking through the neighborhood.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. In both major newspapers, PNP says 3.5 million income tax threshold promise to be funded by organic revenue growth, not new taxes. Also, JLP proposing child care grant for mothers attending heart. Also, we see that JP is urged to submit annual reports. Grange receives Port Royal World Heritage Site certificate. Guyana's president publishes claim of state funds being, rubbishes claim of state funds being used for campaign events. And the Southwest Airlines to charge plus-size travelers for extra seat. Those are some of the stories in our newspapers. Coming up next, we'll share some other feedback from our social media question. Did you watch or listen to the election debate last Saturday? If so, who do you think won the debate? We're asking you to leave a comment on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. We'll be right back.
The Jamaica Debates Commission presents the General Elections Debates in association with Scotiabank for Every Future, Kendall, The Taste of Quality, Flow, NCB, Arc Manufacturing, Water, Lasca Foundation, Pan Jamaica Group, Miss Birdie, H&L Homes, and VM Group. Here, the 2 major political parties debate national issues live August 26th and 28th at 9 p.m. It's a political must-listen event. Don't miss the General Elections Debates presented by the Jamaica Debates Commission. Watch, listen, decide, vote.
That's the Jamaica Debates Commission's General Elections Debates. Listen live on Love 101 FM, the family station.
On the next episode of The Mailbox, we will be exploring Brotherly Love Part 2. Brotherly love is characterized by unconditional affection, care, and support between brothers or close friends. It's often forged through shared experiences, memories, and challenges overcome together. You're invited to join the conversation with our guests, Brian Beadle and Darren Summon, as they share about the bond they have developed as friends and business partners. That's Wednesday, August 27th at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station. Love 101, the mailbox Monday.
Make the heathen them laugh, dog. No one ever.
It's our business to know how much is being spent in what areas from education to healthcare.
From roads to security, because our taxes help pay for it.
So, the national budget is our business.
The national budget is my business.
It is my business.
The national budget is my business and yours.
The national budget is everybody's business because it impacts every Jamaican. Visit the Ministry of Finance's website at mof.gov.jm for more information.
If you want $10,000 to spend this summer, what would you spend it on?
Something nice. I'd book our family dream vacation, theme park, or an all-inclusive.
I'd pay off my student loan and start my master's program.
I'd go shopping and get a whole new wardrobe.
They've got plans. What's yours? Use your NCB Visa credit card. Every 25,000 Jamaican dollars you spend is a chance to win $10,000. Something nice for the summer. Promotion ends September 14. Conditions apply. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act of Jamaica.
Coming up this Tuesday, August 26, on The Rock, Wonders of the Body, Blood. Our bodies are a wonder, made by God and made for God. Without blood, the body is lifeless, dead. But what about the spiritual blood that gives us eternal life? Leviticus 17 verse 11 says, "The life of the flesh is in the blood." So how do we connect the blood that flows through our veins to the blood that flows from the cross? Join our special guests, Christina Milford and Apostle O'Neill Richards, as they dive deep into this powerful and thought-provoking topic. Plus, don't miss this week's feature segment, Behind the Bible, where Roland takes us behind the written page to explore what the Bible says about salt. All this and more on The Rock, Tuesday, August 26 at 10 a.m. here on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now join Jokal for a look at how our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp friends answered today's question. Did you watch or listen to the election debate last Saturday? If so, who do you think won the debate? Jokal?
All right, so I have some responses here on our WhatsApp line. The first one comes to us from Olga Cummings Wint. She says, yes, I did. I did watch it. It was good. I think the BNP did well as the opposition. Cherry says, overall, the PNP with style and delivery for the JLP. Matthew Samuda was the strongest contender for the PNP, Raymond Price. Let's hear from Edna. Edna sent a voice note. Let's hear from her.
Morning, watch. Good morning, Love 101 listeners and staff. Yes, I watched the debate. It was quite interesting to a certain point, and I will give the JLP the edge. Yes, I will give them the edge.
All right, thank you so much for your responses.
Okay, yes, thanks indeed for those responses. And so, as we segue into the second watch, the first election debate 2025 between the People's National Party and the Jamaica Labour Party took place last Saturday, focusing on social issues. Now, the debate featured teams from both sides of the political divide, with the PNP's Damian Crawford, Raymond Price, and Sophia Fraser-Binns facing off against the JLP's Pernell Charles Jr., Kamina Johnson-Smith, and Matthew Samuda. Well, to hear their reactions to the debate, we have joining us in this, the second watch, Dr. Nadine Spence, social commentator and a student services and development manager at University of the West Indies, as well as Professor Canute Thompson, social commentator and pro-vice chancellor for the Board of Undergraduate Services at UWI. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Yes, good to have you both. Now, we, of course, trying to dissect this debate, first debate, which took place on Saturday. So I want you to first of all tell us what are your views on the format, and overall execution of this debate. Beginning with you, Dr. Spence.
Um, I think the format was not. I didn't find the format the best, particularly because there wasn't fact checking. I think outside of someone in the debate or the moderator at some point checking what the participants say and giving us an idea about who is on point and who is not, or some kind of mechanism to facilitate that, kind of leaves you to just accept what is given to you, and some of them might not necessarily be true. But it's a regular format. I think it's a regular universal debate format.
There was the omission of the opening statement. What do you thought about it?
Yeah, but then you had a closing statement. I found that I wanted the opening statement because I think it has traditionally helped to kind of lead the debate, to kind of guide it and made it a little bit more manageable for the debaters. I think and kind of focused it a bit. I find that the lack of the opening statement made it unfocused, and just because the topics were so wide again, it made some of it, some of the focus that is supposed to follow difficult. And I also found that some of the questions were repeated.
Yeah, we're coming to those. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I found that was a problem
Yeah, we're
for me.
coming
But
to those.
overall, it was a regular format. It's just that, those three elements for me could have added to the quality of it.
Yeah. Professor Thompson, the fact that the opening statement was omitted, was that a concern for you?
Yes and no. If the opening statement were going to be providing a basis for the questions to follow, then its omission would be unfortunate. But I don't. One of the problems I have with the debate is that the questioners come with these preset questions, which is understandable to some degree, but it is not connected to any clear context of what the people there have said. So without a requirement that the questions be a response to assertions and claims made by the presenters, then its omission was fine with me.
Yes. And Dr. Spence, you first again, what do you think about the performance of the moderator and the questioners, including the social media input?
Oh, I think the moderator was good. It was okay. I don't think there was much. The moderator was very clear about time management, and I think that was applied across the board fairly amongst all of the debaters. As I said before, I found that the person handling the social media questions perhaps didn't notice that some of the questions that were asked were already asked and answered. And so we had situations where, at least in two of the instances, questions were being asked again. I found as well that one of the things that I found that was instructive was when the questioners went back in for questions that they didn't get their answers to. I thought that was instructive, and it cued the viewers into when a question wasn't handled, at least in the eyes of the questioner. But I thought the questions, I don't know, I didn't necessarily like the questions. I think for me, there's so many critical issues, though, that might be important to one set of viewers and which might not be our voters. So I did not necessarily like those questions in terms of what I think are priority order for Jamaica. But then that's my perspective. Perhaps the people asking for them, those are the critical questions.
Yes. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, stick a pin right there. We're up on a break. We'll be right back.
The time that Grace could move is
7:45.
We've seen a lot of our customers make some good moves over the years. Whether it's sharing a hug with a friend you haven't seen in a long time or sharing a meal, Grace has been there. So let's keep making these moments together, because rest assured, every time you choose Grace, you know you're making a good move.
Always a good move when you're moving with grace.
Nothing beats the Love 101 September Bonanza. That's 15% off any advertising package. That's more savings, more spots, and more reach for your business. But don't wait. This offer ends September 30. Call us now at 876-968-9596-7 or email sales&marketing@love101.org. Let's grow together. Conditions apply.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and it's the second watch. We are actually, looking back on the first election debate, which was held on Saturday. In so doing, we have online Professor Knut Thompson and Dr. Nadine Spence. Professor Thompson, your thoughts on the performance of the moderator and the questioners and the questions? You said they were preset.
Yes, thanks very much. Yes, I thought the moderator did okay, but there was nothing particularly remarkable in my view. She held the time, but beyond directing traffic, person from whom the question is going to come and what's on, which I think is a very rudimentary task. What I think that the flaw is not with the moderator, but with the structure of the debate.
Mm-hmm.
In my view, the moderator should be the fact checker, and perhaps would have available to her a team of 2 or 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's an assertion that's made that is partly incorrect or completely false, then when after the answer is given, the questioners, the interrogators would do their quick research, and then she would be able to come on here and say, actually,
Mm-hmm.
the correct information is. But I think that it diminishes the impact of the debate if you can't fact check in real time, which I think is the role and function of the moderator.
Yes. And of course, there were concerns as well about I don't want to say exclusion, but it was not there in terms of the sign language interpreters.
That was most unfortunate.
Yeah.
You excluded a segment of the population from the conversation.
Yes. All right. Who were the best debaters from both sides? Professor Thompson, you first, and then Dr. Spence.
All right. So let me say up front who I thought, and then perhaps if you'd allow me to give you my reasons.
Yes, sir.
I think that the PNP team was a better team on the night. And of course, then therefore the JLP would come second. There on the JLP side, I thought that Mr. Samuda was good in content. His body language was a little hostile. His face conveyed a little bit of a hostility. Perhaps it was nerves. One of the things I learned during the debate is that you must woo your audience. You must woo your opposition. Weaken them and win them with a smile.
Mm.
In the American debates, you have these, historically, you would have a stage where a presidential candidate would go into the face of the other person. I don't think you'd want to have a person going beyond 4 feet, but it's a conversation. So I think that he was a little stiff, but his content was strong. Generally, his rebuttal was strong. And like Mr. Price, he would do these jabs as he did from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
Camille Johnson-Smith was a disappointment for me. In 2020, she was a very strong debater, almost consistently acerbic, but she was basically missing for much of the night. She conceded a number of things in her responses by saying, we agree that the education system is wrong. So We're trying. We love our children. Those are not comments you make. You speak to your policy position, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Charles, I thought, was missing for most of the night. His first comment, his first answer rambled on for a while.
Mm-hmm.
He himself recognized that he was struggling. You could see it in his body language. And then Mr. Price pounced on that by offering some concrete proposals in relation to youth. Remember that question on which he stumbled so badly? He was asking just something about youth.
Mm-hmm.
And he was all over the place. And Mr. Price then spoke to rent to own, the 500,000 deposit, and so on, which were very specific. Mr. Damian Crawford looked a little nervous, but his answers were generally, you could see what he was saying. And Mrs. Fraser Binns
Mm-hmm.
also provided some very concrete answers in terms of the environment. So I thought that if overall the PNP team...
And the most outstanding debater for you, Prof, was who?
I would say Raymond Price, and I tell you why. There are four things you look for in a debate. Sharpness of response, which demonstrates thinking on your feet, placing the other side on the defensive, strong content, which is very specific, and which you can cross-check and verify, and offering a coordinated kind of comment on issues. And I think in those areas he did well.
Okay, tick the boxes. All right. So you're saying that PNP won a debate in your mind and Raymond Price most outstanding. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Spence, your take. Dr. Spence, still with us? Not hearing her.
Sorry, I was muted.
You're muted. Okay.
Sorry.
Yes.
I muted myself. Yes, I saw Matthew Samuda as the strongest debater, and I'll tell you why. I think he answered all his questions. He never had to be checked by the moderator once for going over time. He answered his questions, maybe rebutted, or sometimes he gave a crisp rebut, and then he answered his question within time, and then he would expand his argument a little bit more. So I thought he was definitely, for me, the top speaker of the night.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people like Raymond. I particularly don't like that style of debating where the debater brings in issues that has nothing to do with argument, doesn't extend the argument being raised within that particular debate.
Mm-hmm.
I think yes, he brought in some issues that, would play to a political base, but it didn't necessarily expand our understanding of the topics that were raised on the debate. And for me, you can't give him points for raising issues that didn't expand the context of the debate or the knowledge of the debate. I think Damian on the opposition side handled a lot of the questions, but I also think if you fact-checked him, he would have said a lot of things that were not necessarily true. And, he fumbled on a lot of the questions in respect of keeping his intent,
mm-hmm.
the intent of the question throughout the question. I think Colonel Charles was very, very nervous and didn't really turn up as we would expect him to in the debate. And I think Kamina Johnson-Smith, we expect a certain degree of engagement from her. We didn't get that. She wasn't the top debater. Everybody expected her to be the top debater. I think she delivered. She answered the question. She ran out of time most of it, and I don't think she handled time very well.
Yes.
But I think she answered the question, and she answered them very well. And if you check her answers, they were more truthful.
So top debater for you was Samuda.
Was Samuda, and I think the JLP won because their answers were more factual. If you fact check them, they had more answers, and they stuck within the context of the debate. Even if they brought in jabs and other kinds of responses, it was still extending the subject of the debate.
Interesting. Professor Thompson,
yes,
what do you regard as the highlights or lowlights and lowlights of the debate? Highlights and lowlights.
I'm not sure of a lowlight. What I felt, a low point, if light is different from point, I think it was the imbalance in the distribution of engagement or our involvement on the JLP side.
Say more on that.
Samuda,
Imbalance?
pardon me? Master Samuda was way out there. He had much more to say. He made more contributions. If you were to do an audio analysis or a voice analysis, you'd find that on that side he was doing most of the talking. Pearl Charles was doing very, very little, and Camille Johnson Smith was second to him. But so the imbalance in the distribution of the engagement on the PNP side, you had a greater distribution. You could see team play where they would stop on somebody answer, and there was less of an might I say inequity or in the amount of time that each member participated. And I thought that was strong. So if it's a team debate, you want to see a team at work rather than a bright star and others hardly holding the other end of the wicket.
Hearing you loud and clear. Dr. Spence, same question.
No, I think in a debate you want to come and you want to hear less of what you hear on the normal political platform. You want to hear less of what is catering to the base, because I think it's supposed to reach another audience, another kind of audience, right? So I think, for example, when Raymond made his comment about where is the Minister of Health, or when he made his other comments about market me and all kinds of things that he threw into it, that was just political propagandizing on that stage. And so I was turned off of that. I was turned off of his saying, for example, you can't spell Jamaica.
Well, that was my low light. That was my low light.
For me, that was my low light. Yes. I didn't think those kinds of interventions were necessary, because I think those have been happening in so many other spaces that on this night you wanted this to be another kind of engagement, another kind of listening, and also another kind of presentation of the information.
Okay. Well, as a wind down, how influential do you think these debates are in getting the uncommitted to actually go out and vote? Professor Thompson, you first.
You might be familiar with motivational theory.
Yes.
There are things that dissatisfy, but few things motivate. If either party had not turned up, it would be held against them. That they turn up, it won't bring a lot of benefit. I don't think people's minds will be persuaded because much of the policy things that were said have been said in the campaign. But so it's the debates are more about, might I say, a perfunctory kind of public ceremony that you must attend, but I don't think it will change a lot of minds.
Public ceremony, Dr. Spence.
I think it has. It adds to the quality of the conversation, because I think one of the things I've discovered then, especially with my engaging the post-debate analysis on social media, is that there are so many people who are talking about it, and now that the debate can be cut in bite-sized pieces, and people share a favorite response or a response they don't like or something, people have been passing it around. So I think if you checked the day after, it probably was trending on social media.
Right, so it has some impact. We got to leave it there. We got to leave it there, Doc. I'm so sorry. Thank you both for joining us. Interesting and insightful comments. Have a safe and productive day.
No problem.
Yes, thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we continue to set the stage for discussion of topical and controversial issues. For information on how to get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-9596-7. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Elizabeth Stewart, and our guests. I'm Dylan Toussaint, returning you to love in the morning.